Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph A. Savarese from Brooklyn, New York.
Hey guys, quick interruption here. Want to win a free t-shirt? Well, Joe has so graciously donated one to be able to be given away. And let me tell you how you have a possibility of winning. If you go through and you're the first person to find the difference in something that Joe has done throughout the video, there's a change that he has occur. If you're the first one to find that, put it in the comments. You're eligible you'll be the one to win a free t-shirt. It'll be an IAWC t-shirt, and we'll be in contact with you, whoever's the first one is to get that. Good luck, and thank you, Joe, for donating it, brother. Now, back to the regularly scheduled Saturday program.
But I'm sure my accent already gave that away. Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to the International Association of Carvers.
Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. I'm glad you guys could be here on this Saturday. As you can tell, I am not Blake. Blake's right there. So I wish I had a little animation thing. I'd make his lips move. But anyway, Blake is unable to be with us today. He's helping his daughter. So we will look forward to him being back with us next week. So you get to suffer through me today. It'll be okay. We'll have a good time and we'll get things happening. As we get started, I'm just going to tell you guys who we have coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Probably a pretty good lineup. We got Joe Savarese today. Joe's going to come on and show us some stuff with soap carving, but I'll let him talk more about that in a few minutes. Then next week, we're going to have Mike Bloomquist is going to come in. On the 25th of October, Ashton Brown will be with us from Badger State Blades. And then get a treat on the 1st of November because Blake is going to be down at the North Alabama show, and he'll be showing us some stuff from down there and going around the show and presenting things there. Then on the 8th of November, we'll have Mr. Bob Hershey. He's going to be presenting for us on that day. Then we get on the 15th of November, we get Ryan Olson. And then Mr. Roger Stegall is going to be here on the 6th of December. So that gets us up into the December timeframe. A lot of really good carvers and presenters are going to come on for us in the next couple of weeks, and just going to make a really good time for us. Good demos, good information for us to be shown and to see, and to help us out in our carving journeys. Today, though, we've got Joe Savarese from Brooklyn, New York, is going to be joining us, and I'll give a little bit better intro of him in just a minute, because I really want to give you guys over right now to Mr. Dave Stetson, who's going to give our words of wisdom. So, Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you. Here you go, brother.
Hey, thank you, Dave. A couple of weeks ago, we were in Colorado, and one evening we were out at the Flying W, which is a place where they do a dinner and a show. And they had a screen behind the performers, and something popped up on the screen, and I put it on my phone as a potential word of wisdom. And what popped up on the screen, it said, courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. It came from John Wayne. So I was thinking about how courage applies to us as artists and wood carvers. And courage in art is the willingness to embrace uncertainty, to take risk, and confront fears that arise during the creative process. It involves the courage to try new techniques, express authentic and vulnerable ideas, and share your work with others, despite potential criticism, and persist through mistakes and the possibility of failure to allow your creativity to flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it so much, man. I'll always love your words of wisdom coming in there for us. So, as always, Dave's with us every week, giving that to us and letting us know and sharing his words of wisdom. Today, though, we have coming from Brooklyn, New York. You will not be able to tell from his accent at all. He lost it all some way. I don't know. But we got Joe Savarese. Joe is going to be doing a little soap carving demonstration for us today and giving us some great information. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Joe, and let you take over for us, bro.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Before I get started, I would just like to give a big thank you to Blake and Dave for this awesome channel. I've learned so much just watching it and hearing other artists share their passion for this awesome hobby. Back in May, I was on here and I gave a demonstration on carving carving this little guy, little heart and cage. But I also gave a very thorough introduction about my carving journey. So if you'd like to hear more about that, just you can go back to May 7th, and it's a pretty long presentation. Okay, so the way I got involved with soap carving was back in 2017. A cup master from a local Cub Scout troop reached out to me asking me if I could do a class in soap carving. Now, didn't know anything about it, so I said, sure, no problem. So I am an Eagle Scout, so I did a lot of preparation, and I went out, got a couple books, learned a lot from them. I did the workshop. The Cub Master did warn me that the kids are going to be between the ages of 5 and 10, and they're going to have the attention span of a fly. That was his words, not mine. But the workshop went great. The kids were focused. They enjoyed it. The parents were very surprised. In fact, one of the parents came up to me and said that the son has a muscle hand disorder, and that his son hates doing the physical therapy. So the soap carving is very similar. So he thanked me very much for introducing his son to this hobby. At the same time, I was also doing wood carving workshops in my local community center on a monthly basis. So since the soap carving workshops went well with the Cub Scouts, I figured I'll incorporate the two. So I had one table set up for Cub Scouts, the other table set up for, one table set up for soap carvers, the other table set up for wood carvers. And it went great. They were just working with one another. One week, a wood carver go to the soap carving table and help each other out. And so it was awesome. And then the Brooklyn Public Library System reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in doing soap carving. So I was doing that actually, I'm still doing that. So currently, I've taught at least 80 workshops. So let's see. So Halloween is 20 days away, and it's always one of my favorite holidays. But what made it my favorite, certified favorite, was my wife and I were expecting, and we got a due date of November 1st. And I remember my wife looking at the doctor and saying, "Why'd you have to tell me now for my husband? He's going to nag me for the next 9 months." Well, I was pretty good. And October 30th, while in church of all places, my wife goes into labor. And I'm happy to say on October 31st, at 1:57 a.m., my son was born. Now, I do want to share with you a couple pictures, which has nothing to do with wood carving whatsoever. It's just mainly to embarrass my 19-year-old son. Dave, do you have those pictures?
Yep, I'll start here for you.
Awesome. Okay, so those pictures of me just doing the best I can to terrify some trick-or-treaters, and the other picture is my wife and son on my son's first birthday. Now, I have to remind my son's friends, they do follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and they follow my wood carving journey. And I do want to remind them that my son, your friend, is 6'3", 215 pounds. So I'm not sure if he's going to appreciate you telling him that you saw that picture. Anyway, there's no more teasing him because he's bigger than me. So since it is Halloween right on the corner, I do want to show you some Halloween wood carvings. So the first one I'm going to show you is this guy here. So I got this from a book. Let me show you the book. It's a great book all on Halloween. And whenever I copy someone else's work, I always try to change it up and make it my own. And for example, like this guy, he looks like this mummy looks like he's on Weight Watchers a little bit. So I kind of made him a little heftier. I added a pumpkin. My son wanted a little spider in there, so I put a spider in there. And let's see, the other two carvings I would like to show you, I gotta change the angle. So let me just get this out of the way. Okay, Dave, if I could trouble you to change the angle, great. Okay, how's this go? Sorry, thanks for your patience. So let's see. Okay, good. I can see now. So this is an online class I took with Kevin Applegate. He's a CCA member. He's a great instructor, great carver. And let's see. Let's see if there's a, man, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so
I knew you were in New York, Joe, but I didn't think the rats were that bad, buddy.
actually, there's a little story behind that. If you don't mind, could you change the angle again? I just want to share a cute little story. Great. So I have a nice friendship with Harold Inlow. He's a caricature carver. People consider him the godfather of caricature carving. And when he found out my son was born on Halloween, he would surprise my son with gifts for many years. And unfortunately, my wife opened up the gift that year, and that rat was in there. And when I called up Harold and Elaine, and they just laughed, and Harold said that was all Elaine's idea. It had nothing to do with that. So this is a little shout out to the Enlows. Okay, I'm back. This is a change angle. Thank you. And sorry, Evan, if I scared you. He's a buddy of mine that's afraid of his own shadow. I know he's going to be watching this, but I'm sure he'll get even with me at work. Okay, so these two guys were online classes. This was Kevin Applegate, a CCA member, and this was Chris Hammock, CCA member. Now, when you take online classes, and by the way, the online class was through Woodcarving Academy, and this was through Chris Hammock's website. And a lot of the classes, when you sign up, you start out with a rough out. And the rough out is, instead of a block of wood, the instructor will send you something like this. The bulk of the wood is removed, and it helps you learn the features. Okay, and they usually send a little sheet like this. Okay, so that's all I'm going to have with wood carvings. Does anybody have any questions about that? The rest I'm just going to move on about silk carving. Okay, so just give me a second, please. Now, with soap carving, I try to design for different skill levels. This is good for a beginner. There's another guy here. Okay, and then I go into like intermediate and advanced. So this is a good example of intermediate. And this guy here. So I'm going to start with a basic carving today, something like this. But at the end of the session, I'm more than happy to answer any questions about these carvings, how I did it, the types of soap I used, the differences between them, how I finished it, how I painted it, all that stuff. So
all those are soap carvings, right, Joe?
Yes, they are. I did add, for the spider, I did add some pipe cleaners and some little wiggly eyes, but everything else is soap. And let's see. So when it comes to soap carving, you got to get yourself a knife. Show you. Maybe, Dave, if you could change the angle, it might be a little easier to show this. Okay, good. Thank you. So you have to get yourself a soap carving knife, something like this. Get them like Amazon. They're called vegetable carving knives. Or you can make one. I'll show you how to make it. There's different sizes. Okay. And then make something like this, those little stop cut dowel, a little tracing tool. I'll explain that later. And you can also, Helvey makes these beautiful wood carving knives, but if you reach out, you can ask if they can make a soap carving knife for you. So I'm going to show you how to make a knife first. So Dave, not to drive you crazy, if you could chit-chat, thank you. So when it comes to making a knife, I just use popsicle sticks. Position it like this. I use a little Elmer's wood glue, or white glue is fine. Okay, you apply the glue on it. You get some little mini clamps, or you can use blue painter's tape or masking tape. I usually apply a lot of glue. I'll let it dry overnight. And this one I use blue painter's tape. And it's gonna look something like this when it's done. Okay. So you trace a little style knife you want. Here's some examples. So for this, I'm just gonna make a little short knife. Now, I gotta remove this excess wood here. Just remove all this stuff. So I can use this little hobby saw that you can get, and you can just cut the excess wood off. Do that, you could just, okay, or you could just carve it off and shape it. So once you get this profile, the profile that you want, something like this, you take a sanding block, and the way I got the profile, I'll show you. So you can also sand it to the shape you want. And to get a nice angled bevels so it can glide through the soap, you just take your, this is, by the way, 120 grit sandpaper, on roughly like a 5-degree angle. Side, same way you would sharpen a knife. Just keep on doing that until the bevel looks like this. Okay, I take black Sharpie marker just to show that this is the cutting edge. Now, this other side, I turn this into a gouge by just sanding it. And what that does is it helps dig out. So, for example, see this little dimple in here? Just, that's how I carve it out. I already finished this with like a spray, so it's like plastic now. I can't work on this anymore. It's already sealed. But I'll show you that later. Okay, so we got our knife, a little tracing stick that I showed you earlier, something like this. The way you make this is you just take a wooden dowel. This one is 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeters. You cut it to size, again with your little hobby knife, hobby saw, I should say. And then you take the sandpaper and just sand it to a point. Okay, so now we have our tools. Next, we have to make our design. So I use graph paper. I like to use 1/4 inch. Stuff out of the way for you. Less of a distraction. Does anybody have any questions?
Feel free to unmute if you guys want to ask a question, or you can put it in the chat and I'll ask Joe when you get a chance.
Okay. Change this up. Okay, better. So I like to use 1/4 inch graph paper or 6mm square graph paper. And I like to use ivory soap. So ivory comes in 2 sizes. 3.17 and 4 ounce. I like the 3.17 because it's square. And what I do is I lay out the graph paper so the blueprint will fit onto the soap. Okay. Then I sketch my blueprint. Now, if you don't know how to draw, you can always go through a book. You can go on Google Images. Josh Arroyo, I hope I pronounced his name right, did a great AI presentation about a month ago, I believe, at least, and did a great presentation on AI, and it'll help you tremendously generate blueprints through that. This is the blueprint I came up with. This is a simple little ghost, and then I cut it out with a scissor. I glue it onto a piece of thin stock cardboard, like an index card or like a cereal box. Glue it on using craft glue, something like this. Okay, and then I cut out the blueprint. So now we got our blueprint, and we're going to start. So we got to trace it onto the soap, and I'm going to use my tracing tool. Okay, you can also use a little craft brush. So now I have my blueprint, or my outline. That angle. Okay, so now we take our knife, and you hold the knife in your writing hand, the hand that you're going to hold a pen or a pencil. So I'm a righty. I'm going to take the knife and put it across my 4 fingers. Okay. The blade is going to be pointing away from me. The black line is the blade pointing away. My thumb is resting behind the knife. I hold the project in my other hand, and I consider the knife like a car. I'm driving a car. This is my gas pedal, the thumb that's holding, the hand that's holding the project. And I'm just going to push it through. Okay. Now this is called a push cut. Pushing the knife through the soap. I already removed about 2 millimeters. So we're going to continue, trace it out, and continue. Now, if you have a scroll saw, you can also cut it out that way, but I like to do it by hand. Okay, so you got to do this all the way around. You have to remove all of this. this area, all this. You can also do it this way. Take my wrist and I'm just rotating the wrist and using this thumb to push through. Okay. Now, if you can't get your knife into these little tight areas, like over here, I'm not sure if this is coming up. This is a better view now. Here we go. If you can't get your knife into these areas, you could always change the shape of your knife. Like for example, it's skinny, it's narrow, and I can get into the tight spots. You can even use this as like a drill. You can just take the knife and twist it. Okay. So eventually, we'll have something that looks like this. So I'm going to show you a finished one so you can see what we have to do. We're going to have to round all the corners first, round the perimeter of the project. Okay, so we're going to go back to that push cut. Thumb behind the blade on the project in my other hand. This is my gas pedal. And I'm just going to start rounding the corners. And I'm not using my arms. I'm just resting my hands on my table and just using my fingers. Okay. Okay, so anybody have any questions? This is the perfect time. This may take a little while. All I'm doing is rounding the corners.
Hey, Joe, when you're
Yes.
making the gouges, do you sometimes get the popsicle stick at that end wet so you can bend it so that you get more of a curve to it?
Oh, I haven't tried that yet. That's a good I haven't tried that. That's a good suggestion. I'm not sure. I tried to bend popsicle sticks in the past, and for other projects, it may not work. But you could take a piece of basswood and carve the tool out of that. One of the books suggests that you take popsicle sticks and you glue them together, and you can make little V tools out of it as well. Okay, let's see. So I rounded the okay. So these edges are rounded. So now we want the hands to pop out, like sort of. See, let me see if I can show you like this. Good example. Over here, see how his arm is kind of like coming out. So the way you do that, you take your knife right here. We're gonna just twist the knife. see if I can get a little higher angle so you can see how my wrist. So I'm sort of rotating my hand like that. Okay, all I'm doing is just digging away the soap. And I'm pushing the arm back, and that makes the head stay forward over here. Let me see if I have a study cast. I carved out of wood. This may have, yeah, that's a better image. Keep that here to help you see what I'm doing with it.
So, Joe, if you know of anybody who is here, or if anybody here is wanting to get involved, maybe with helping their scouts out or teaching any soap carving, do you have any tips or tricks to be able to help them get involved?
I would say the books that I showed earlier are great. There's lots of online videos also. That's a good question. In the Boy Scouts, there's still a wood carving merit badge. That's a great book to follow along. Let's see. So you see how the arm's being pushed out, and I'm pushing back this area here. Okay. Now, the back of my tool, the little gouge, I can also, oh, bad angle, here we go. See, it works like a gouge, like a wood gouge. Now, what a wood gouge is, it looks like it's a curved blade, and it allows you to make concave cuts into the wood. So that's what I'm doing. So we're just going to continue this. So for the arm, we want to have a nice curve. So it's a little square back here. Okay. So we're just gonna round this edge over here. So not every soap carves well. It's ivory's beautiful to carve. Irish Spring is not very good to carve. It chips on you, it flakes. It also starts breaking down. Like melting. So I like to stick with ivory.
Any particular place you found to be a good place to source your soap from?
Right now, Amazon. But I did call Ivory up, the company, and they said they're always offering coupons. So I would suggest to go on to their website, and if you buy by bulk, I mean I bought well over 300 bars of soap. So I take advantage of the times of those discounts, those coupons that they post. I used to get a bar of soap for 70 cents, 77 cents, and now it's like $1.30 or something. Okay, let's get in there. Now, the face, all I do is I make a little circle, a little arc here. Hard to see. Or I could use the little tracing tool that we made earlier. All I'm doing is holding the tool and just kind of scraping, just carving a groove. I'm doing this area here. I'm taking the tool, holding it, doing that, I'm scraping around. I'm forming the face. Okay. Continue rounding. Again, using the push cut. Now, you can also use the parent cut. I'll show you what that is. Parent cut is you're taking your knife, it's like peeling potatoes. You bring the knife towards you. So this is your thumb here. And you're doing this. Okay, like that. And of course, being aware that you don't have the blade go into your thumb. Okay. I'm not a big fan of that cut, but I do like to show people. So I showed you the stop cut. The stop cut was taking that tracing tool, kind of tracing the project, the outline, and then carving into that outline. That's considered like a stop cut. Okay. I showed you the push cut and the parent cut. Okay. And the last cut is the V cut. The V cut, let me see if I can show you here. So we want to get rid of this wood here, or this soap here. I want to get rid of this. So we can cut a V. Take the knife on an angle, bring it in, and then go on the other side and on an angle and go back in. So it looks like a V. I'm going to do a little bit more pronounced. Okay, that's a V cut. And also you do V cuts for like doing hair and everything. This is another V cut. You take the knife I'm making a stop cut, okay? And then on an angle to the right and the left of that stop cut, I made an angle right into that stop cut. And then I make another angle on the other side. That's a V cut. I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Mr. Splinters, and I have tutorials. And one of the tutorials is how to hold the knife properly, the 4 different cuts. I have another video on carving a Santa, a little Santa face, on how to carve a basic owl, how to carve a comfort cross, and a bunch of other videos. You can find it by typing in Mr. Splinters in YouTube. Okay, looks something like this. Any questions?
Hey, Joe, I
Yes.
know that soap is a little bit more brittle than wood.
Yes.
So like where you're cutting right now, let's just say you had a whoops and the hand broke off. Can you patch that?
Yes. Perfect. Great question. So what I do is I take the soap scraps. Okay, they have to be fresh because once the air it gets too long, it starts getting it hardens up. I put it into like a little plastic Dixie cup and with some water, and I mix it up and I make it into like a paste. And then I apply it back to the. We can break. I could show you. Well, actually, I shouldn't. But make a little paste, and then you could join it together, and you hold it together. And it takes about six to 10 hours to dry. Okay, if it's really bad, you can use a little mini toothpick and carve a little mini toothpick and kind of stick it in there into the, and then join it together, and then put the soap paste around it, and then when it dries, you shave it off. You shave off the excess. Also, I use, when I say mix it up to make a paste, I also mix in, you can also mix in Elmer's white glue. You don't have to, but I do mix in Elmer's white glue, and there's other glues on the market. This works really, really good. There's another one. I used it when I glued this guy here. Okay, so this I carved out of ivory, and this was carved out of a dyed soap. This was the soap I used. Okay, and I used it. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little toothpick here. So the toothpick runs through the pumpkin into the ghost, and then I made a little bit of a paste, orange paste, and I applied it over here. And then when that dried, I took some Elmer's glue and I put it over here, tucked it in here, and I let it sit and dry for a good day. Great question. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to change knives just to show you the difference. Since this narrow here, you can really get in there. Now, these knives are not really sharp. so you don't have to worry about it. You have to be careful, of course, if someone stabs himself like this. But if you're concerned, you can take sandpaper and just dull it up. You'll hold it 90 degrees right to the sandpaper. So you're just dulling up the blade, and you could get rid of this point if you're afraid someone's going to puncture, hurt themselves. You could just sand it off. It takes a little while, but you will. Okay. But this is great just to get into the little tight spots, especially this guy here. To get into the eyes and the nose and the mouth area. Okay. Or you could just take your popsicle stick knife and just shape it to make it nice. This also works perfectly. Is there any soap carvers online now that's willing to talk? Okay. So when you're happy with your carving, we got to put some eyes on him. And the way that works is you can just take the tip of your knife and just spin it, like twist it like a drill bit. Okay. Let's do that again. Just remove the excess. Oh, cool. Thanks, Carl. It's a little hard to see, but I never finish a carving in one sitting because I like to give my brain a rest. I usually pick up the carving the next day and look at it, and I see imperfections. So I always encourage people, just don't rush through their work. You can also use these brass tubes that they sell in hobby shops like Michael's and what's the other one? Hobby Lobby. They sell these little brass tubes, and you can use that to gouge out the eye area. You can use a toothpick. Sorry, blocking the. Okay. Do the face here. Okay, so to make the folds on the bottom, something like this. Remember I spoke about V-cuts earlier? We're going to use V-cuts. Just making like a lazy S, or like a very wide C. And then that was my stop cut. And then to the right of the stop cut, I'm going on an angle. And then to the left of the stop cut, I'm going to use the parent cut on another angle. That's one fold. Or you could take the tip of the knife and make it into a V cut. Watch this. Hold it 90 degrees and just kind of scrape along. Okay, do another one. Do one over here. The ripples in the bottom over here. I'm using the push cut again. And I'm also rotating my wrist. Okay, so when you're happy with your piece, I would look it over one more time, make any kind of adjustments, and then you could actually take warm water and a brush and kind of just brush the warm water on, and it polishes it up. Now, I noticed with ivory, it has a nice look, but when you use colored soap, like the orange I showed you earlier, it gives it a dull look, so I wouldn't recommend it on that, but ivory, it has a nice look to it. And then if you want to paint it, I would suggest that you seal the soap first with an acrylic matte or gloss varnish. I suggest acrylic because it's safe. It cleans up with soap and water. That seals the soap for you, and then you paint over that. I would give at least 2 coats of sealer before you paint the project. So I don't want to bore you, but that's pretty much it with this guy. Yeah, just do you have any questions on this particular carving? I'm going to discuss other carvings with you.
I think it's been really good, Joe, and some great technique being shown with how you're manipulating that wood, the knife through there. So it's looking pretty good.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear your voice. I was afraid I lost everyone.
Been here watching, man. All good.
Okay.
Enthralled.
Like, oh my God, I don't hear anybody.
All good, man.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Yeah, I've taken so many online classes that everyone said it's so strange doing these classes. I totally agree. You know, it's you have no idea who's listening and yeah, who's watching. So it's so thank you everyone for tuning in. When it comes to painting the eyes and the mouth, I don't. If you just want to paint that, like something like this, I don't seal the soap with that. I'll just take black craft paint and take a little eyeliner brush. Let me see if I can find it for you. It's a little, they're disposable eyeliner brushes, and for some reason it's not here, but they're like the size of a toothpick, and you can get them in like 50 to 100 of them. They're like $10, and you dip it into the black paint and just go in here, and then you wait for the black paint to dry. If you kind of spilled over on the sides, you wait for the black paint to dry, and then you scrape off the excess. You just hold the knife 90 degrees to the surface and just kind of scrape along. It removes it. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to discuss a couple other projects with you, a couple other soap carvings, unless anybody has a question about this guy. Okay, so I'd like to discuss, get this stuff out of the way. Dennis still going to be yelling at me right now if he saw my workbench. He always tells me I need to be cleaner. There we go. Sorry, Dennis, if you're watching or if you plan on watching.
That's the cleanest bench you've had. It's full of soap, man. Come on.
Okay, good. So I'm going to discuss some other soap carving projects with everyone. So this is a perfect project for beginners. Did the same thing I designed it with craft paper. And then I took a little etching tool and I took the blueprint, I put it down and I just traced along. That was making my stop cut. And then I took my knife and then I just carefully carved up to the stop cuts on a very sharp angle, like this, see? So this is a very, very deep valley I went made around this candy corn, okay? And then this carved look, this chiseled look, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I just took the knife, I just made little short stop cuts. Actually, I didn't seal this, so I could show you now. So just made little short cuts. So it looks like a rock. Okay. The way I painted it, I put 2 coats of matte lacquer. I'll show you which one I used. I used inexpensive matte acrylic matte varnish. I applied 2 coats. Then I painted it with acrylic paints. And then I sealed it. After that, I let it dry and I put 2 coats of a gloss. Now we got matte, we got gloss, and if I want to make a satin, satin's in between, I could take the half of matte, half of gloss, mix it up in a Dixie cup, and then it gives it a satin finish. Okay. The way I got the proportions for this, you know, the white, the yellow, and the orange, is this is 2 inches long, this candy corn. So I took 2 inches, I divided it in half, that's 1 inch. So that 1 inch was my orange. And I took that other inch and I divided that in half and I gave me ½ inch. So the white is 1/2 inch and the yellow is 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch gives it a total of 2 inches. Let's see. This guy here, very similar to the ghost that I just walked you through, except I just added a sign. So I used the same techniques, except I made stop cuts along the sign and around the sign, and I carved around it. And then I left that plain, just no sign, no, just I left it like a reserve that put anything I want. I could put Happy Halloween, I could put Boo, whatever. So I left it for last. I carved the ghost. Okay, make sure I got the hands here. I made a little undercut. I don't know if it's hard to see back here to show that he's holding up the sign. I used V cuts here for the ripples, for the folds. And then for the sign, I put blue painter's tape over this area. I drew on what I wanted to write. And then I used a utility knife, a hobby knife. It's something like this. It's a number 11 X-Acto knife. These are very sharp, so just be careful. And I draw the blueprint out on that blue painter's tape, and then I cut it out using this knife. Let's see. This guy here, I used the orange soap. Same thing. I put the blueprint on, I cut it out. But the stem was from green soap. And I drilled a little hole with my knife. Like I showed you earlier, I took the knife and just kind of twisted it, and it kind of just twisted the knife and drilled a little hole. And then I made a stem. I carved something like this. Let me see if I can draw it for you. So I carved the stem like this. I made a little, called like a little plug. So that plug fit into the hole on top. Then I applied a little couple drops of glue to keep it into place. The detail in the pumpkins, I used a V cut like I showed you earlier. Angle, angle, or you can take the knife and just do this. Just scrape it, and it generates a V cut for you. Now, if you put light behind it, it will shine through. I gouged it all out, and the way I did that is I used the gouge tool in the back. Now this is already sealed with a couple coats of lacquer, so I won't be able to carve it anymore. But all I did is just did this, just scraped it out. The brush, kept on doing it. And this is a Sharpie marker I used. And this has at least 2 to 3 coats of lacquer. See. Since Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my favorite movies, we got to show some Christmas in here. Let's see. Well, thank you, Mitch. The eyes I bought from Amazon. They come in different sizes, like little black glass eyes with a little stem on there, and you just pop it in. Let me see if I can. I don't think it'll come out. Let me see. There you go. That's what it looks like. And they come in all different sizes. They go in the metric system, so I think it's 1 millimeter up to like 3 or 4 millimeter in size. The nose, I took like 2 3 millimeter stick of basswood, and I just carved these little guys, and then I drilled a hole into the soap. I painted it. I should say I painted it, then I put it into the snowman. The scarf, I used fabric from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I just glued it. I just wrapped it around. I tacked it in the back with that glue I showed you earlier. And these are just tweaks when I'm walking my dog. Same thing, take my tool. I just use it as a drill. I just pop it in there. Just be careful. Don't apply a lot of pressure because soap doesn't have grain. And what I mean by grain is there's no structure. You can't, like, this is the grain of the wood. The fibers are running along the length, so I can't break this. It's very hard for me to break, but soap will break if you apply pressure. Let me show you. Let's see, get this out of the way. Same thing, 2 separate projects. The pumpkin, the ghost I was showing you earlier, how I glued it into place. Yeah, this was ivory soap. Now, the dyed soap is tricky to carve. It's brittle, so you have to use sharp tools. I learned that. Unfortunately, really, this doesn't work very well. The popsicle stick knives for something this detailed. And I'm going to move on to Easter. Two bars of ivory soap. Same thing. I made like a little plug back here, and put it into place, and put some glue here and mix it up. So this is a good 2-3 years old now, so it's starting to yellow on me. The tint is starting to yellow. So, but I did this whole thing with the 4 cuts that I was just talking about. Remember the stop cut, the pairing, the push, and the V cut. It's all done. That's how I did the whole entire piece. And same thing. This whole thing was done with the same cuts I was telling you about. When it comes to signing your name, I recommend using a toothpick or that little etching tool I told you about, and just lightly sign your name. Just do 1 pass. Go over it once. Okay? Then take a brush, just brush out the debris, get it out of the nooks and crannies. Then wait a couple minutes and then do it again very lightly. And you'll be much happier with that. You just give it a chance for the waxy soap to get out of the way. Okay, and then after you finish a project, especially if you're helping someone, I highly recommend that you get like a little Happy Meal box like this. So when they leave and they don't drop the piece. Last but not least, I do want to show you the spider. Okay, this guy was a bar of ivory soap. Okay, so the way I designed it, was something like this. Okay, so this is regular ivory soap, and I just used the etching tool. I went around and etched it and just carved away. Then Notice the front, the face, I angled. Let's see if I can see this. This is angled this way, and this is angled this way. So the head looks is more like this. Okay. And the legs, I used pipe cleaners. I took 2 pipe cleaners. I twist them together. Okay, twist them all together. So I gotta make 4 sets. 1, so I already did it. Save some time. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I cut them 7 inches long. Okay, I put them together. And then the halfway mark, which is 3.5 inches, I tie them together. Dave, how am I doing with time?
We are at 11 after right now, so we got a couple more minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much, this is the last, okay, so. Okay, so that's my legs. Now, I turn this over, and remember the V-cut I was telling you about? I made a V-cut but down here. So it's just an area for me to place this bulky knot and hide it, okay? I place it down here, okay? I apply lots of glue, like I said, Elmer's glue, or this glue. I let it dry. It takes maybe about an hour, half an hour. And then I just shape the legs to the way I want it. I bend them the way I want it. And the eyes, these are just craft eyes I got at a craft store. They come in like a pack of like 50. And I use Elmer's glue. Just put a little bead of glue here and here and just hold them in place for about, maybe no more than a minute. And I set it aside. And the spider has at least 2 coats of acrylic lacquer. And that's about it. Does anybody have any questions?
If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask Joe. And Joe, you said the best paints to use are acrylics on that, correct?
Yes, you can get inexpensive hobby craft paint, but I do like Josana. If it's in your budget. It's a little pricey, but the quality is just beautiful. It just flows on the wood and the soap. It's a big difference. But any craft paint is fine, especially that you're sealing the soap. You already have a surface. You already put a coat of sealant, so the paint will flow better.
Anybody else have any questions for Joe today? All right. Well, Joe, appreciate you so much, man. Looks like we got a lot of good comments in the chat about a great presentation with the soap carving. Hope more of us will get out there and do that. Maybe start teaching some younger people how to soap carve, maybe get them into carving with wood and everything too. Joe, appreciate you having on here today. Guys, just want to remind you that next week we'll have Mark Lindquist on, and we'll get our lineup going in through November, which I told you all earlier. Blake will start posting some of that stuff out on social media so you can see all of the stuff that's going on and happening. Appreciate you guys being here on this Saturday, and just thank you so much for joining us with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Y'all have a great weekend. Bye.